Hey everybody, this is Chase with Trick Tools, back in the shop today with a couple welding tables, and we're going to do a video giving you 5 things we think you need to know or consider before purchasing a welding table. It is a massive market and there are tons of options out there, so whether you're into big manufacturing or just doing stuff on the side, we wanted to do a video kind of helping you break it down, help you narrow down your search a little bit, and find the right welding table for you. Number 1 is going to be hole size and hole spacing. Some of your most common hole sizes are going to be 5/8, 16mm, and 28mm. This segment I have in front of me here is a 28mm table. These are typically used for your heavier industrial applications or big manufacturing. All of your angles, your ball lock bolts, everything like that are a lot bigger than the 5/8 and 16mm stuff. I've got a 28mm ball lock bolt and a 5/8 ball lock bolt here, and you can see just the size difference that they have. And really what you're gaining with a heavier table like that, or a 28mm table, is just the sturdiness and the clamps. Obviously the weight capacities of it are going to be a little bit higher too, and especially in the clamps and angles and things like that they hold. Just built for a much heavier duty application, whereas your 5/8 and 16mm is going to be a little bit more on the medium duty side. As far as hole spacing goes, on the standard side, like your 5/8 tables, 2 and 4 inches is going to be your most common hole spacing. On the metric side, 50mm and 100mm is going to be your most common. Sigmund actually has several options as far as hole spacing goes. They have a metric series and a standard or imperial series. Where this can get a little bit confusing is that the hole size is always going to be metric with Sigmund specifically, but the imperial series does use 2 and 4 inch spacings. They also have rulers on the side of them, so obviously if you're getting a metric table, it's going to be centimeters. If you get a standard table, it's going to be in inches. There are other options out there as far as hole size goes. There are 3/4 inch tables, but your fixturing is going to be a little bit more limited. If you're looking for a table with tons of fixturing options, you're probably going to want to look into the 5/8 and 16mm tables. The fixturing, all the angles and everything like that are going to be a little bit more economical, whereas your 28mm stuff, there are great options out there. It's been around for a really long time, but some of the fixturing and adding to a table is just going to be quite a bit more pricey than some of your 5/8 and 16mm tables. One of the most common asked questions we get is, will my 16mm tooling fit into my 5/8 table? And the short answer is no. 16mm comes out to about 0.629 inches, whereas 5/8 is 0.625. And they do run the tolerances on these tables tight enough to where, in general, your 16mm clamps will not fit into a 5/8 table. That being said, your 5/8 tooling may fit into 16mm. Just know that there will be a little bit more slop and play inside of the clamps and some of the fixtures. Number 2 is going to be the table thickness or the top thickness. And this is important for a lot of reasons. Obviously, one being the weight capacity. The thickness is going to have some, impact on how much weight you can stack on the table. But really one of the biggest factors is going to be your fixturing. Something like this ball lock bolt here is designed to work with a 5/8 table and through the specific clamps for it. When you're looking at some of the fixturing and what you're going to need for your project is going to be really important, because it may help you nail down exactly how thick the top needs to be. Some guys may try and get away with a little bit thinner top and drilling their own holes, and you may be able to get away with it a little bit, but really what you're going to lose is a lot of stability in the clamp. You're going to lose some surface area on the post there, and it's going to just want to move around a little bit more, and we've got a good demonstration showing that as well. Another issue that you may run into is the holes wanting to oval out a little quicker, losing some stability there. You may even lose some of the flatness in your table if you're really clamping something down. Thinner table is going to want to deflect and flex just a little bit more. So knowing your fixturing, knowing what you're going to need as far as capacity for your table is all going to be really important when it comes time to purchase. So what we got here is a good way to illustrate how the thickness affects the clamps. So I've got 4 different thicknesses of material here. One is 1/2 inch, we got 3/8, 1/4 inch, and 1/8 inch material. All 16mm holes, and we got a 16mm clamp here. So if we put it into the 1/2 inch hole, a lot of 16mm tables are going to be about 12mm thick, so we're pretty close to a 1/2 inch. And you can see there's not a ton of rock in the clamp itself. It needs just a little bit, obviously, for it to work and be put in a bind in order to provide the clamping force, but there's not an excessive amount there. As we move down to 3/8, you can see there's just a little bit more play in there. 1/4 inch is really going to exaggerate the movement, and 1/8 inch has a ton of movement, front and back. Number 3 is going to be the weight capacity, and the top thickness is a good segue into that because obviously the top thickness is going to have a little bit of impact on your weight capacity, but really the biggest factor is going to be the legs of the table. And there are tons of options out there as far as legs go. There are even power lift tables that use a hydraulic lift. If you're looking for the biggest weight capacity, fixed legs is going to be where you want to start. If it being mobile is more important to you or best suits your shop, just know that you're going to lose a little bit of the weight capacity anytime you put casters on something. Same with adjustable height. Another important thing to note with the capacity is that some will do a general capacity, so the overall weight that it can hold. Some manufacturers do it by leg. So just knowing how long your table is, how many legs it has, and multiplying the weight, obviously capacity per leg, and just being aware of that when it comes time to buy. Number 4 is table flatness, and this is one where there's a lot of factors that can impact how flat a table is. The top material is one, the finish on the material is another, and the levelness can actually impact how flat your table is as well. Both of these tables in front of me do have a flatness rating. The continuous top or Sigmund table in front of me here is 3/1000 of an inch over a foot. Some other tables or other manufacturers will measure them over 2 feet, but over a foot is a pretty common measurement, and typically it's in thousandths of an inch. So there are other tables out there that are more in the 4 or 5 thousandths of an inch range over a foot. 15 thousandths of an inch is also a common one. All of those are going to be extremely flat tables. The important thing to note here is that, especially if a table has fixed legs, it can only be as flat as the concrete and how level that the table is sitting on. So when I say that, I mean if you have a table that's bolted to the ground and there's any sort of twist or anything like that, or the table's put into a bind, you're going to lose some of that flatness that's advertised in the top of the table. Something else is that the weld your own tables or weld your own tops, they're great. They definitely serve a purpose, can save you a lot of money, but anytime that you're putting heat or weld into a table and assembling it, there is that opportunity for some warpage or deformation and some twist to be put into that top. Some fabrication tables that are mild steel top may not even have a specification rating. That's not to say they're bad tables. You can definitely still have a quality product with a normal mild steel top or just a plate steel top. It really just depends on your application and your projects. Knowing what you're building, understanding how tight the tolerances and the finished product has to be going to be really important. So number 5 is going to be the hardness and the finish on your table. Both of these tables in front of me here have been nitrided, which is a surface hardening process, and they also both have a black coating on them. There are different ways to achieve the black coating, and different manufacturers will do it a little differently, but typically when you see that black coating on a table, it does mean that it has been nitrided as well. Nitriding has a lot of benefits to it. One would be when you're sliding your project around or your material, going to help avoid gouging the table and transferring that gouge back into your product. The other would be that the inside of the holes are going to avoid getting ovaled out or being deformed when it's surface hardened. Some of the biggest benefits are going to be corrosion protection and weld spatter. When you have a nitrided table, the weld spatter is going to be a lot less prone to sticking. When you have just a normal plate steel table, it's going to take a little bit more care. You're going to have to oil it down and sometimes knocking off those weld BBs or sanding on it. When we talk about nitrided tables, it's really going to help extend the life of your table. We've got an extra pro tip for you guys, and this one is going to be joining tables. Almost all the manufacturers have some way of joining tables to either make them longer or give them different shapes to really tailor to your specific project. 4x8 is one of our most popular tables that we sell. There may be a case out there where buying two 4x4 tables makes more sense because it can save you space. They can easily be split back apart and used as two different workstations. They also have options for clamping blocks or extensions. They're rows that go on the outside edges of the table and make them even longer than just butting them up. And it would also leave a gap in the middle. For example, if you're doing chassis fabrication or something like that, it's going to give you access to the middle if there are difficult to reach welds. Hopefully you found this video insightful. Check out the website at Trick-Tools.com. We've got a great welding table selector to help you filter down your options and find the right welding table for you. All of the products have great specifications on them, so whether you're looking at flatness or weight capacity, you'll be able to find all that under the specifications tab. If you have any more questions after that, feel free to give our guys a call. We'd be happy to help. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.